Okay, so we wanted to talk about the sum and the difference formula of the trigonometric functions. Okay, so we wanted to use the sum, use the formula for the cosine of the difference of two angles. I use sum and difference formula for cosine and sines. Okay, so there are some questions in your homework related to this, and it's a common errors in your exam. Okay, so be careful and remember these formulas. So okay, so cosine. So what will be cosine alpha minus beta? It's cosine alpha cosine beta sine alpha plus sine alpha sine beta. As, and then what will be cosine alpha plus beta? It will be cosine alpha cosine beta minus sine alpha sine beta. Okay, so what happens here? For the cosine, and what happens? You have cosine cosine together, sine sine together. And if it's minus, here is plus, here is plus, here is minus. So for the cosine, you have all the same thing together. And the sine is opposite. Okay, and for the sine, and let's directly go to the formulas. Okay, so let's directly go to the formulas. So these are the cosine, and for the sine, what happened here? For the sine, you have what? It's a pair: sine, cosine, cosine, sine, sine, cosine, cosine, sine. Okay, so and because this is and the sine in the middle is always what? The same. Okay, so cosine is cosine cosine together, sine sine together, and the sine in the middle, it's opposite. Sine is what? Sine cosine together, sine cosine together, and the sine in the middle is the same. Okay, so this is how you remember these four formulas. Okay, and these four formulas are very important. So because these are the basics of the future formulas. If you remember these four, all the other formulas can be deduced from these four. So keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. It's absolutely required. Okay, okay. So why do we need this? Then we come back. Why do we need these formulas? Okay, so we wanted to find, the exact value. Okay, so we wanted to find the exact value. Okay, so in the exam, we were not, we were not give you a special angle. Like, okay, so to find cosine with 30 degrees. No, we will not do that. Okay, so the example, most likely, it will be the following example. So if you have cosine 70, cosine 40, sine 70, sine 40, what did you notice? You have a cosine, cosine together, sine, sine together. Cosine, cosine together, sine, sine together. What happened? It will be a cosine formula, yeah, either sum or difference. And so you have 70, you have these angles 40. So for cosine, remember it's always what? Opposite. Opposite, yeah? Opposite. Okay, opposite. What does this mean? If this here is plus, then in the middle is what? Minus. So then this thing is equal to what? Cosine of what? 30 degrees. What is cosine 30? That's a special angle. So do you remember it's square root of 4, 3, 2, oh no, 2, 1, oh my god, 1, 0. Yeah, so that is what? A 0 pi, okay, so that's what? Yeah, that's what? 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45, 60, and 90, yeah? Okay, so cosine 30 is what? Square root of 3 over 2. So you just, keep this in mind. Okay, so square root of 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then 0, 30, 45, 90, 60, 90. Okay, so you can directly get it. Okay, so this is one question. And then you can also use to what? Verify the identities. So cosine alpha minus beta. and equal to what? Cosine alpha cosine beta plus sine alpha sine beta. And then you can separate and get the answer. Yeah, get the answer very easily. So JC is verified. So cosine JC is from the formula, yeah. Okay. Easy. Okay. So then these are the 4 formulas. Okay. And one of the question on the exam is this. Always on the exam. Okay, sine of it may not be exactly the same, but it will be sine of 5 pi over 12. And if you use calculator and give me a decimal number, that will not be right. Okay, so you have to use the sum or difference formula to find the exact value. Okay, so you guys need to be super careful. Super careful. Okay. Okay. How could you know that which formula should I use? Okay, so this will depending on whether you know these angles very quickly. Okay, so 5 pi over 12, 5 pi over 12. So what are the special angles? Is what? 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and what? 60 degrees. And that is what? Pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. You with me? Okay, so if you are not so familiar with what? Fractions, yeah? So what could you do? 5 pi over 12, you can change it to what? Degrees. So what do you have? Times 180 degrees over pi. So what do we have here? Is 75 degrees, yeah? Could you make a 75 degrees with all these special angles? Yes, 75 is what? 30 plus what? 45 degrees. So which is what? Pi over 6 and what? Pi over 4. Are you with me? Okay, so then use the formula, because sine of alpha plus beta is what? Sine cosine. Sine cosine. Okay, so it's just you could change the value. You could change cosine and sine here. Okay, are you with me? Okay, so then you calculate these things. So when you multiply two fractions, what will you do? Multiply straight across. 1 times square root 2 over 4. Square root 3 times square root 2 is what? Square root 6. Okay, so this is this one. So this is one of the questions that typically on the exam, but students will make a lot of mistakes. Okay, so the next one. Okay, so because it's kind of long, so I wanted to show you here, like carefully. Okay, so I wanted to rewrite it and show you. Okay, so sine alpha equal to 4 over 5. Okay, we know that this one is in quadrant 2. Typically what I do, I will draw the picture. Okay, so what I will do is in the second quadrant, yeah. So this is alpha. So sine alpha equal to 5 over 4. Sine is what? Opposite. This is opposite over what? Hypotenuse. 4 over 5. And so you can use what? Pythagorean theorem. What is this side? 5 square, 4 square. And you know that this is 3. But there is a but. So what is the most important thing? Because this is in the second quadrant and it's on the what? Negative x-axis. Do not forget this is what? Negative 3. So after you draw this picture, so what will you do? You can write all the trig functions that you need. Yeah? So we know that sine alpha equal to what? 4 over 5. What will be cosine alpha? Negative 3 over 5. What will be tangent alpha? Negative 4 over 3. What will be even cotangent alpha? Negative 3 over 4. Are you with me? You can find all of them, okay? And so what will be the next one? So we will do what? Sine of beta equal to what? A half. So what will you do? You draw the angle in the quadrant, beta. Sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse. It's 1, 2 here, yeah? How could you find this one? So it's what? A squared plus b squared equal to c squared. So it's 1 squared plus b squared equal to 2 squared. So b equal to what? 4 minus 1 is what? 3. So b equal to square root of 3 plus or minus, yeah? b equal to square root of 3. b equal to square root of 3, yeah? But 2, 1 square root of 3 is another special angle, that a special triangle that you need to remember. But I also did it for you here, okay? Because why do you want to keep positive? Because it's in the first quadrant, yeah? So we know that sine beta equal to a half. What will be cosine beta then? Square root of 3 over 2. What will be tangent beta? Is what? 1 over square root of 3 is square root of 3 over 3. Yeah. What will be cotangent beta? Is square root of 3 over 1 is square root of 3. Are you with me? So, and then similarly, if you wanted to find sine of alpha plus beta, so what does this equal to? Equal to what? Sine of alpha cosine beta, because sine is what? Sine and cosine together, yeah? So what will you do for the next one? Okay, it will be what? Sine alpha already used, so then that will be cosine alpha sine beta. So then what should we do now? Okay, so what should we do now? So we plug in all the values. Sine alpha 4 over 5 times cosine beta square root of 3 over 2 plus cosine alpha negative 3 over 5 times what? Sine beta 1/2. So what do you have? Here is 10, 4 square root of 3 and minus 3. With me? So this is pretty easy. And then what should we do? Cosine alpha plus beta. Cosine, remember, is cosine together. But here is plus. What should we have in the middle? Minus. Sine. Okay, so what will be cosine? Is what? Negative 3 over 5 times what? Square root of 3 over 2 minus 4 over 5 times what? 1/2. So what do you have? 10. Or you have what? Negative 3 square root of 3 minus 4. Okay, so minus 4 here. Okay, so this is the way we wanted to do. Okay, so for this question, you do not need these things. But I just so you can find all the values after you draw the triangle. So for this question, if you know one trig function and you know the quadrant, you always want to draw the triangle in the quadrant. And do not forget, your xy coordinate should be according to which quadrant. Keep the sign. Okay, keep the sign. And then the rest of them should be straightforward. Okay, and you can look at all the things step by step here. Okay, so this is the book has all these methods that they have there. Okay, so then the next sum and difference formula we have already learned for sine and cosine. Then we also wanted to remember what will be tangent. Okay, so tangent alpha plus beta. So I always remember is what? Separate over multiply. Okay, so 1 minus multiply. Okay, so 1. So for this here, what happens here? It means what? Tangent alpha plus beta is always what we want. Separated tangent alpha plus tangent beta. And then what will you do? If here is what? Plus, here will be what? Minus. so it's opposite sign. Okay, I do not know whether you will understand this thing. Okay, so I will say what separate, and 1 it will be opposite sign, multiplication. This is how I remember. Okay, so alpha minus beta is tangent alpha minus tangent beta, so you just follow the thing, but then it will be 1. Where is minus, then what will you do? Plus. Okay. Okay, so you can think about your own way to remember the formula. Okay, so we'll define the identity here. Tangent x plus pi. So separate, what will you do? Tangent x plus tangent pi, and 1 opposite, plus here, minus here, then multiplication tangent pi, with me? So what does this thing equal to? Is tangent x. What is tangent pi? Is 0. Okay, so because that is sine pi over cosine pi, sine pi is 0. Okay, so 1 minus 0, so that is tangent x. So what does this tell you? This is where the period comes from, yeah? Okay, so do you remember the period of tangent is what? Pi. So this also tells you the period of tangent x equal to what? Pi. Okay, so that's this section.